Chief.
All righty.
Check with the guys.
Call meeting to order.
Welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners Meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public sessions. In addition to our live audience this evening, we will provide remote options for citizens to watch and participate in county commissioners' meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our QAC website, www.qac.org live, or on QAC TV's television channel, Atlantic Broadband Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. Citizens can participate by joining the live Zoom meeting by going to www.qac.org, public comment. Citizens may also email comments to publiccomments.qac.org. Comments received will be read during the press and public comment period on this evening's agenda. We acknowledge your participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comments will be taken and limited to 3 minutes. If you care to speak, please sign the sheet on the informational table in the lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing to the county commissioners. We will now stand and be led by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Chris Corcorino.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could please remain standing. County lost a great citizen, so a moment of silence for William Molaskey. Thank you.
We just had a closed session under General Provision Article 3-305 to discuss boards and commissions.
Somebody sign up, you need?
I'm going to make a motion to appoint Shelley Gross Wade to the Economic Development Commission for a term of 3 years, beginning January 1, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 5-0.
The agenda for today's meeting, February the 8th, and the regular and closed session meetings for February 25th have been circulated for your review. Are there any additions, corrections?
No. Motion to approve the agenda and minutes as submitted.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for taking the time to express your views to the county commissioners. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes may be submitted in writing. The commissioners respect your desire and rights to convey your vision freely. When you come forward, please speak clearly in the microphone standing. State your name, your address, topic of interest. In keeping with the dignity of the office, we ask that all views be expressed in respectful and civil manner. The commissioners respect your desire and right to convey your message freely. We ask as a courtesy to the board and our citizens that you respect the commission's request to refrain from naming citizens, name calling when offering critique.
And also, in case everyone surely can tell that this isn't Todd Mon.
No.
Todd Mon is on vacation, well-deserved vacation, and thank God for Margie. She's sitting in and running the show for us tonight. So
Things are already running smoother.
absolutely. Todd, be afraid.
All right, first, Sarah Collins, right to the mic.
Sorry.
Sure.
Great. My name is Sarah Collins. My address is 25320 West Road.
Speak up just a little bit, make sure they get it.
Mic up a little.
Bruce, can you bring that up, Tom?
Scared to touch that.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
It's better.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Collins. My address is 25320 Westlands Road. And my topic I'm talking about tonight is animal services. I've already written something that I will share in writing, email after this, because I'm sure I'll talk over 3 minutes, but, hold on 1 second. All right, so, good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Collins. I'm a student of Washington College and a former employee of Ramon Villatoro. On January 28th, I wrote publicly about my experiences with Ramon in hopes of making residents of Queen Anne's County aware of the ongoing issues. I'm speaking before you today to advocate for the staff at Queen Anne's County Animal Services and all employees that could be affected by the negligence and abuse of power. This investigation opened up by Queen Anne's County government last week is a step in the right direction. However, there are several issues that must be addressed. Ramon's tenure as Chief of Animal Services revealed grave systematic problems within the Human Resources Department of Queen Anne's County and the Board of County Commissioners. In the course of just 9 months, at least a dozen Queen Anne's QACAS employees went to HR. These employees spoke for better working conditions for themselves and living conditions for the animals, despite any potential backlash revealing these abuses could have brought. The tragically long list of concerns included issues with finances such as unpaid bills, shortages of necessary supplies, discrimination, and harassment in the workplace, Ramon's inappropriate sexual relations with former employees and rescue partners, misuse of county funds, and employee retention. The problems pointed to Ramon's deeply unethical management practices that jeopardized the wellness and safety of staff and animals alike. Despite the number and seriousness of the complaints, the staff of Queen Anne's County Animal Services did not receive the help or accountability they deserved. The county failed to acknowledge 95% of the problems at a county institution, the cornerstone for saving animals in Queen Anne's County. One step the county did take was sending Ms. Connie Tolson from the Department of Public Works to help improve the financial situation. However, this action had little effect on Mr. Villatoro's business conduct. To this day, the shelter still faces debts of numerous unpaid bills that have gone months overdue, namely to veterinary offices like Town and Country Vet, Spay Now, and High Street Veterinary Practice, along with companies like Hills Science Diet. Despite the potential risks staff members had taken by going to HR, they did so to maintain the moral principles of their work. Every single complaint that each employee shared in their HR meeting with Beverly Churchill was shared with Ramon immediately. To call it a simple lack of confidentiality is an understatement. I'm sure you can imagine what it would be like to have a staff member who went to HR talk about unprofessional.
Go ahead.
Didn't start speaking until the 2-minute and 35.
No, she can go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you. To call it a simple lack of confidentiality is an understatement. I'm sure you can imagine what it would be like for a staff member who went to HR to talk about unprofessional and unethical workplace conduct, only to have your identity revealed to the very person who was the perpetuator of this behavior. Consequently, there was only further discrimination at the shelter. I went to Mrs. Churchill on June 10, 2021. After the meeting, every detail I told Beverly made its way directly to Ramon. Not only was I punished by Ramon for going to HR, but I was also made into an example for other employees. He bragged about finding out everything I said in confidence to my coworkers. Some of my coworkers, well aware of how my complaints had been dismissed and my confidentiality breached, were now scared to speak up. This pattern of behaviors points to a significant problem internally with Queen Anne's County's Human Resources Department. That needs to be acknowledged and corrected. I fear that Animal Services might not be the only department that has faced similar issues with HR, and action must be taken to redress HR's failure to follow the integrity of their office and Queen Anne's County government as a whole. The Human Resources Department is not only to blame for the situation with Queen Anne's County Animal Services, the county commissioners also bear some responsibility for this. Mr. Steve Wilson has leaked the private information from HR to Ramon. Furthermore, Mr. Wilson has been claiming to members of the public that he was unaware of any issues with Queen Anne's County Animal Services and had never been notified of employees going to HR or received the letter that I sent all 5 county commissioners on June 25th, 2021. This could not be further from the truth. The day I sent my letter over email, Steve brought it to Animal Services to show Ramon and the other staff members himself. Steve also continuously claimed he was unaware that there had been any problems with Ramon, and then attempted to inform me that I was the only staff member of QACAS who filed complaints to HR. After my experience with Mr. Villatoro at work, I now faced Mr. Wilson's unwillingness to take responsibility or rectify the abuses that occurred at Queen Anne's County Animal Services. I asked that Mr. Wilson accept responsibility for dismissing these concerns and be held accountable for his actions along with the other Queen Anne's County commissioners. The actions of Mr. Villatoro are great, but the response of our local leadership points to a systematic failure. While Animal Services wasn't affected, it is unclear how many other departments have already or will be impacted by the same moral and professional principles. Our employees at the shelter deserve better than to be degraded in the workplace, than unheard by their elected representatives. The animals that we serve remain victims of the abuse, remain victims in the crossfire of negligence and abuse of power. I pray that Mr. Villatoro is removed from his position after the investigation concludes, but there also needs to be more to be done. Change needs to happen, and until it does, we cannot let up.
Thank you. Inga Peters?
Good evening. How are you doing? My name is Inga Peters. I reside at 205 Bay City Road, Stevensville. I'm president of Saving Future Feral Cats. Your vote tonight on the bill is very important to the community and our organization. I have been trapping, neutering, and returning cats for quite a few years in Queen Anne's County, and I can personally tell you that the impact that it does makes a big difference. I could take you to several locations in Queen Anne's County where there were as many as 50 cats, maybe 100 cats on a farm that we trapped, spayed, neutered, and returned, and now there are no kittens, and including the fact that the cats have reduced themselves to just a few cats. There was a colony behind Frito Lumber where there was at least 30 cats. Go out there behind Frito Lumber, there's no cats. The cats that are left, they are moved and they went to a trailer where somebody feeds them. We take food to him and he feeds them. We see that it reduces the numbers that go into the shelter. You know, farms, a lot of the farms still have the cats, the kittens, and they don't know what to do with it because they keep multiplying and they don't have the equipment to trap them. They don't have the money and the funds to spay and neuter them. So guess what? They get picked up, trapped, and taken to the shelter, and it overloads the shelter. It also causes a lot of stress on the staff. It's been proven that there's a high suicide rate amongst animal caretakers, and a lot of it, I believe, is because of euthanasia and unnecessary euthanasia. Many of these cats, they're out there, they've been out there, they've been killing birds, they've been killing little animals. Why not stop what they're doing? Why not stop them from producing? A cat can have 10 kittens, can have up to you know, that amount, but usually outside they have 4 kittens and usually 2 or 3 survive. Then those kittens have kittens. Very quickly, it can turn to 100 cats. We don't want to get like Australia, where all of a sudden there's such a big issue that we're spending a ton of money from the county and our shelter's overloaded. It just doesn't make any sense. And these studies that everybody throws out about the birds and the wildlife and you know, messing up the ecosystem, well, we want to stop that. That's what we want to stop. We want to stop them from eating the birds and the animals. And I really encourage you to vote for this bill, for the cats, for the people that feed them, for the cats, for the people that trap them and take care of them, and mostly for our county shelter. I thank you for listening to me, and please vote for this bill.
Thank you. Victoria Rosati?
Good evening. I'm Victoria Rosati, Graceville, Maryland, a Queen Anne's County resident and the president of the Board of Directors of the Animal Welfare League of Queen Anne's County. 2 years ago, members of our organization stood before you to express our disdain at the way the commissioners handled the cancellation of AWL's contract to provide much-needed oversight and care for the homeless animals in the county. Our biggest fear in the county retaking control of the welfare of homeless animals was that the lack of oversight would result in an increase of euthanasia and a lack of accountability. We were assured by this panel that that would not be the case. Sadly, it would appear that these fears have become reality and are worse than we imagined. The recent revelation that multiple employees of the county shelter voiced their concerns of a toxic work environment and unnecessary euthanasia to both Queen Anne's County Human Resources and the commissioners and were ignored is disheartening. I'm here to support the young employees, for many of whom this is their first experience in a work environment, They should be heard and supported. Why has the Director of Animal Services continued to be protected despite numerous warnings and reports from employees? And why was AWL disregarded when we brought many of the same concerns to the attention of this panel? Further, I'm here for the countless animals unnecessarily euthanized under the Director's orders. Animals who would still be around if there was any oversight whatsoever. Animals like Scamp, a cat who was thriving in her foster home but shut down when in the shelter. Despite the foster being willing to take Scamp back, the pound instead adopted out her kittens and then killed her. As recently as January 22nd of this year, Commissioner Steve Wilson was quoted in the Record Observer as saying, as the commissioner most involved with the county animal shelter, this operation is well run, well funded, with a good adoption rate and low euthanasia rate. This assertion was made despite the knowledge that the shelter was not in fact being well run or experiencing high adoption rates or low euthanasia. Based on the reports out of the shelter as well as employee statements, it would seem that nothing in the above statement except the well-funded part is true. When the county took control of the shelter, they also allocated hundreds of thousands of extra taxpayer dollars to the newly created animal services. It's time those funds are used to actually better the conditions for animals in the county facility, reduce euthanasia rates, and create a pleasant and educational working environment for those individuals choosing to spend their time helping animals. That cannot happen under the current director. I implore you to correct the wrongs of the last 2 years and find a better director. I also insist that there be some sort of oversight and accountability so that the conditions at the shelter and the experiences of those who work there are heard and not silenced. Let's work together to create legislation that will assist with this. Legislation that prevents the shelter from euthanizing animals when there is a foster or a rescue willing to take that animal. The TNR legislation is a great start, but we need to ensure there is someone at the helm who has the animal's best interest at heart. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody online? Is there anybody else in the room who would like to speak? That's all we have on our list. All right, we're going to close present public comment. I'm going to ask Mr. Karpinski and Beverly, could you come up here? All right. So obviously we're aware of, the posts that have been on social media, and it's not that they have been ignored by the commissioners. We have been reading them and following up. We can engage in some of those discussions on social media as it involves personnel matters, and so that is a topic that is a lot of it is confidential. But I do want to sort of address some of the issues and hopefully clear some of the air, because I think there is some misconceptions, and obviously there is work that can be done to be better, and that's something that we constantly strive for. We did obviously get the email in June. It was a Friday, June 25th. We immediately tasked County Administrator Mon with investigating that. Within 2 days, he reached out to the person who sent the email to us and set up a meeting. The meeting occurred, as far as I know, and then Mr. Mon took what he learned from that meeting and he created some action items, both some long-term goals and short-term goals. And those things were put into place. We didn't hear anything further about that at that time until the more recent email, social media posting. The social media posting obviously had a lot more, I'll say, sort of salacious allegations in there that did not appear in the June 25th meeting, the June 25th email or in the meeting. Had those issues been raised in there, that would have raised us to a whole another level of investigation at that time. However, in light of that social media posting, we did take immediate action to get Mr. Kevin Karpinski, who is an attorney. He specializes in employment law. He represents a lot of counties and agencies throughout Maryland. He's a specialist in this. And so when there are issues of that level, he's someone that we turn to for his expertise to conduct an investigation into this so that the commissioners can be better aware of what's going on. I think it's important to point out that when issues are raised with HR, the employment issues, they go to HR. They don't go to the county commissioners, right? HR is the staff that is trained in order to deal with complying with internal procedures, state and federal laws that apply to employment issues, and so that's where it goes. Seldom do those issues actually come up to the county commissioner level. They're usually addressed in HR. We don't hear anything of them, and I think Mr. Karpinski will say that is the best practice, and this is what other counties and agencies do. So we were not aware of some of the things that we were found out in this post. I can't comment on what's true, what's not true. Obviously, this is an investigation that's going on with confidential information. It is something that we take seriously. It is something that we have looked into. As far as some of the operational issues that have been raised about the animal shelter, those are things I can speak to more. We took a number of steps since taking over the animal services. If you remember, the former Animal Welfare League operation that was absorbed into the county, that started around March of 2020, and we all know what happened a few weeks later is when the COVID shutdown started. And it has not been a perfect transition, and we knew that, right? That when you're absorbing an agency in the county, there's going to be some things that need to be addressed along the way. But we have done a number of things to make things better. By bringing those employees onto the county government's payroll, they now are entitled to some of the benefits that the county employees have. That assists with retention and recruitment of qualified people to work there. They have recently received a raise, and again, to assist with retention and recruitment of the employees. As far as the issue raised with euthanizing animals, there are some euthanizations that occur at the direction of a vet because of the animal's health, and I think people understand that. There were other concerns that were raised with euthanization, and we have an independent citizen who is a level above review, above Mr. Villatora now, who has to have a final say on those other types of euthanizations. That was another level of checks and balances that we have instituted. For the feral cats, as you just heard from Ms. Peters, we have the trap, neuter, release ordinance that we've been working on for a while. We reached out and partnered with the stakeholders in the animal community to get input from them on how best do we address some of these things. And we reach out to those people in the animal community frequently to try to get input on how we do. I think this is a pretty good ordinance. We had the hearing on it at the last meeting. There'll be a vote today. I'm hoping that it passes. I know I'm voting in favor of it. That will have a significant effect on the euthanization of feral cats. And so I'm looking forward to us having that. The county has also, and not in response to what has just occurred on social media recently, but prior to this, we actually had assigned senior county leadership liaison to animal services to help with developing more procedures, guidelines for things like ordering supplies, integration into county processes and procedures, streamlining daily operations, and improvements with handling accounts receivable and the budget. It's a process, and we are working still to get that in. Any past due bills that we have been made aware of, those are all in line and going to be paid. Those bills are backed by the full faith and credit of Queen Anne's County. They're taken care of. I think some of the issues that have been raised more recently in social media that were raised back in June, they have been addressed, and I don't think everybody knows. If you're not involved with what we're doing behind the scenes and what the county's changes are at Animal Services, you may not be aware of all of them. And I can understand why there will be some sort of confusion about looking like nothing's done. When we do operational things in all the departments, we try our best to make sure all the departments are operating as best as they can. But we do it without fanfare. So when we're making these types of changes to operational procedures, we're not doing press releases about it, and we're not really talking about them. So the public maybe doesn't see the changes that are occurring. This is not to say that any of the departments are perfect. I mean, I think, they're all doing a great job, so not a knock on any department heads over here, but we can always find room for improvement. And so we encourage the public to reach out to us and to let us know where there are things that we can do a better job on. And we're grateful that we did have that outreach that occurred in June, so we could look into things and work harder on it. We've improved technology improvements at Animal Services. We've instituted a rabies vaccination program for the appropriate staff members. We have capital improvements for new Animal Services vehicle. We have a new animal behavioralist that is just starting. Those are just a couple of the things. In 2021, the facility had a 9% increase in adoption rates, and there was a 6.2% increase in the foster program. So things are getting better, and we will continue to do that. So I want everybody to know that we take the concerns seriously. I don't think that all of the things that may be read on social media are fully substantiated, and we've had an independent investigation into that. So I'm saying that with a degree of confidence based on that. I'm going to ask Mr. Karpinski if you could just speak to sort of the process with HR, the level of review, and sort of what the best practices are. In your opinion, is the county complying with what other agencies similar to ours are?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner President. So my name is Kevin Karpinski, for those who don't know me. I'm the managing partner of Karpinski, Cornbrooks & Carper, a firm in Baltimore. For the last 28 years, I've represented counties and municipalities. I think I've represented every county in the state of Maryland with the exception of one, and a significant number of municipalities in discrimination cases. And I am someone who speaks for the Academy for Excellence in Local Government on employment-related issues. So just speaking globally about best practices, when complaints or concerns are brought into human resources or to the county administrator or to some other department, they fall into two categories. And one is sort of operational concerns about how something is being done. And then there are others that are more human resources issues in terms of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. Someone feels that they didn't get correct pay, those types of issues, and those would be handled by human resources. As you've correctly pointed out, those are not commissioner level issues. Those are decisions that are made at a staff level, and there are good reasons for that. Queen Anne's County hires highly trained individuals to go ahead and handle things that are of a specialty. Human resources is a specialty. Public works is a specialty. You hire people that have spent their educational career and their vocational career going ahead and becoming experts in those areas. So the best practice, and the practice that is followed throughout the entire state, is that those are staff level decisions, and they're done at a staff level. And that's exactly how it was handled in this particular instance. So that's sort of the global view. I have started an investigation, and it is clear that there were some concerns raised in June. They were more operational in nature. By example, bills weren't being paid on time, trouble ordering supplies, euthanasia was an issue. There were other issues that were sort of operational in nature. They were given to Mr. Mon to look at. And as Commissioner Corcorino has pointed out, there were operational changes made. Recently, there were obviously additional allegations that were not operational in nature. They were more in the true sense of a human resources issue, where it was questions of workplace harassment, workplace treatment, those types of issues. At that juncture, I was retained to get involved. Now, if it were a human resource issue, normally I would have been involved in the front end, but that was not really what was raised in June. So I have come in, I have started to do interviews I've interviewed so far 13 individuals. I've interviewed every sort of staff person. I haven't interviewed the vet yet or the new behavioralist, but everyone else in that building has been interviewed by me. I've interviewed 2 former employees. I've tried to schedule an interview of a former employee that's made complaints. I've not been successful in scheduling that interview. I have not gotten a return telephone call to go ahead and to finish that. The investigation, though, as I've been directed to do it, is twofold, which is identify whether we have any sort of issues of discrimination, harassment, retaliation, workplace issues that would give rise to a claim under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That's the traditional HR issues that you would see, and I will address that. I will provide the Commission with a report on that issue. I always feel that it's my responsibility that when something like this happens, that also part of it is to come up with recommendations on operational issues. So the report that will be provided to the Commission will have that as well. When I interview people, I say, if you were the one sitting in front of the commissioners as an employee, what would you say to go ahead and make this work environment better? And so I'll have recommendations to you on those issues as well. So it won't just be addressing the issues of the workplace in terms of harassment or discrimination. It will also give you a list of things that you can look at moving forward. I will tell you, having the interviews I have done so far, the employees there have seen improvements in a number of areas. Supplies were an issue at one point. The whole world's going through a supply shortage right now, so the reasons for that issue, it's not crystal clear, but it's improved, and there have been improvements in other areas that you've alluded to, Commissioner. But there's always room for improvement, and I will be providing the Commission with recommendations about other areas that could be improved to make the animal shelter more efficient and a better resource for the citizens of Queen Anne's County.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I told Ms. Collins that on the phone that I had not had, and to my best of my knowledge, no commissioner had any complaint whatsoever from summer to current from HR or the county administrator. Is that correct, Ms.?
That's correct, because we typically handle them at our level, not to the county commissioners.
We had absolutely no, you have my personal word, and Mr. Karpinski and every commissioner here, to the best of my knowledge, and I can tell you about my own, nothing other than your letter came in that you contested, and then going on to speak of my communicating HR complaints, none of which happened. And I want to tell the public, we have been absolutely straightforward about this, and the staff has not said a single word to us commissioners, as far as I know, of any complaint other than your letter. So that's a fact.
No, because when the employees voice the complaints, then we would take it to the director and to the county administrator from my office for review, and to the county attorney.
Well, I think it's important for people to realize that, unlike in private industry, employees that are employees of a municipality or a county under the state government article, their personnel records and their personnel actions are privileged. So until there is a need for someone to know about a particular personnel action, it's privileged. So, and that's why you're constrained, when you ask me, you're constrained in what you can talk about as, action that's been taken against employees or action or disciplinary action that's been taken, because it's very clear that those communications, that employee has that protection under state law. And so it's important to respect that. It's important to adhere to it and to make sure that that information is truly treated as confidential.
How much longer do you figure the investigation will take before we get a?
Well, I mean, if I can get, I have really two other people I need to interview. Again, I've called them. I haven't gotten a return telephone call. I'm prepared to go ahead and finish up by early next week, as long as I can go ahead and get these interviews done, and I'll get a report to you.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I think it goes out saying, feel free to approach us, with issues you have on operational things. As the citizens that you see, reach out to us. If you're not seeing something, it doesn't mean something's not being done. We sort of take it and run with it and give it to the appropriate director head and say, take care of this. And it's usually everything is taken care of. That's sort of the process is how it works. So please do feel that you can continue to reach out to your commissioners with your concerns. Employees should feel that they can continue to reach out to HR. I have every confidence in Beverly. I'm sorry, Ms. Collins, your view of it, but I've been county commissioner for 3 years. I think Beverly's fantastic. I have every confidence in her and her department. And if Mr. Karpinski had seen something wrong, he was going to tell me. So thank you, Beverly, for your work. Thank you, Mr. Karpinski. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, the next item on your agenda is presentations. It's tab 6, item 1, page 1, and it's Emergency Services Update. Scott Haas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Evening.
We have the privilege of giving you an update, our quarterly update. We're switching gears a little bit because the bulk of our updates have been communications and emergency medical services. I still brought Scott with me for emergency medical update, but Lori's going to give you an update on our special operations division. And I kind of want to start by just kind of complimenting our staff. I'm very proud of our staff. Scott is going to highlight what we've gone through COVID-wise since about December until early this month. We've had a lot of staffing issues, a lot of providers, a lot of dispatchers getting sick. I think we've done a good job of managing it, but a lot of people stepped up to the plate to make sure we stayed in service. And I'm very proud of the staff for doing that. Next update. Commissioner Jack Wilson got to see a little sneak peek of what our CAD's going to look like. So our next update is really going to focus on technology and where technology is going. I'm going to turn the floor over to Lori and let Lori give you an update on our Special Operations Division.
Good evening, and let me start by thanking you for acknowledging Mr. Molaski. I think anybody who's been in this county for any amount of time knows what a wonderful asset he was.
Yep.
And
Very sad.
having been, without aging myself, having been one of his students, he definitely is a memorable one. So I wanted to thank you for acknowledging that. So I'm Lori Morris, and I am the Assistant Chief of Special Operations for Emergency Services, and I'm here to give you an update on the Emergency Management Division.
Pull that ever closer to the mic.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting old.
Sorry.
Getting,
I don't project well.
getting old.
So, as many of you may know, Special Operations played an intricate role in the COVID-19 response. I'm happy to report that we have somewhat taken a support role over the last few months. We did man the clinics for vaccination. We manned the EOC and then manned the clinics for vaccination. We were doing vaccinations from December of 2020 when they were first announced until about March of 2021. It's where our primary staff was relocated. We coordinated a lot of assets that came throughout the state and federal government, including the FEMA strike teams that assisted us with that. We managed a lot of resources, and now we are looking at just managing their supply chains. So there's a lot of things that are coming out through the federal government still, and we're requesting resources through MDEMS, which you may formerly known as MEMA, and we're able to push supplies out through the health department. We're also doing reimbursement through the CARES and the Stafford Act. We took the lead on getting reimbursement for salaries, food and shelter for Haven Ministries, medical equipment, PPE, and then we've also done reimbursements for the health department themselves. Additionally, we took over a lot of logistics roles that we wouldn't typically do. Some would fall in our category, so we did apply for and receive a number of grants. The Station 400 mezzanine, which is an additional storage space for Station 400, it's our primary headquarters. With that addition, we also did decrease the response times of that unit. While marginal, it did give them another sense of egress to the units that was quicker than what they were doing before. We also applied for and received a grant for a generator, and that's just to harden our facilities through our mitigation grant. And then we also did helped with some of the renovations at the headquarters recently. Most recently, we renovated the kitchen that is there for our 24-hour employees. And that had not seen a freshen up
Since 2000.
yeah, 99, 2000. So it's been a few years since that building's been updated. We also assisted with the warehouse. The warehouse is now complete. It is a joint effort between us and the Department of Health, and it is staffed by one part-time employee, and we are assisting him because of the overload of work that has been tasked his way with getting a lot of the organization done in that space. We also dropped back to some of our more traditional emergency management roles. So one of the things we're most proud of is our community response team. This is a team that is, it's a curriculum that is pushed by FEMA, and it's to teach our citizens to be their first responders. So it is basic first aid, maybe some cribbing, what to do in a natural disaster, on how to take care of themselves until the government can get to them. We most recently completed the Queen Anne's County High School CERT program through their Homeland Security program, and they completed in January of 2022. We also are in talks with Ken Island High School to start that program back up again and do both high schools for the Homeland Security program, and that would start in 22 with the graduation of 2023. We have recently scheduled Symphony Village. They have been phenomenal CERT members for the last 10 years, and they have new members that need to be trained, so we're going to be holding a class there for them. Parole and Probation has also requested, and then we're going to be doing our outreach. So anybody who's interested can go on our website and apply for, and that has been opened for a few months now. It stays open, but with COVID, we've had to shut everything in person.
How many did you have do the CERT program?
I'm sorry?
How many did you have at Queen Anne's do it? You know,
I
numbers?
believe that's the entire class, so I'm going to go 14-ish
14-ish?
students, but it's part of their curriculum in the Homeland Security.
Gotcha. So it's not offered outside of that as a, because I know when.
So that you can take it through the community.
Okay, so
So
okay.
somebody who is interested, we have been reaching out to a lot of community organizations, like homeowners organizations, to see if there's interest. We've had a
I
couple.
remember when Weather Joe was doing it, and you were doing a lot of the community stuff with it, so.
We're trying to get back to that.
Yeah, COVID obviously put a kibosh to a lot of that, so I get it.
And staffing, we've had a lot of staffing changes. We love Joe.
But I know it was
He's now
well
Joe in
received when they
Utah,
were doing it,
but
though, so,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it was
Utah
very
Joe.
popular.
Yeah,
Yes.
Weather Jaw's now Utah
He's in
Joe.
Utah, yeah.
Utah, got it.
Doing great.
I'll always know him as Weather Joe.
That's right. So that program's been very popular, and we now have somebody else in his position that has been pushing that quite a bit. So as soon as we can get out, we thought we were going to be able to, and then we were pulled back in. So I think we start back up next month with some of the stuff. We were trying to be cautious in scheduling anything because we didn't want to cancel anything.
Now, you guys gonna do that, push that out through all the media venues to
So-
get it out for people to?
That'll be pushed out through social media, and there's always a link on our website that they can go up. So that will send, you put your information in, that will send us your information, and we will be reaching out on when the next class. So as soon as we know that something's scheduled, so the spring-summer class that I mentioned, as soon as we have that on the books on when it's going to be scheduled, we'll be pushing that out to any of those members or any of those interested parties.
Perfect.
We also play a major role in the coordination of any of the events that happen in Queen Anne's County. These are the two notable ones. The 4th of July celebration was held on Sunday, July 4th, in which what emergency management does there is they coordinate all the allied agencies. So we bring all the first responders together, police, fire, EMS, to do a coordinated response. We also do the same thing for the 10K across the bay or the Bay Bridge Run this past year. As you all know, it's held on October 31st and had about 12,000 participants. Additionally, it's a little later than what I thought, but there's several projects that we have been working on behind the scenes, and these are more of our planning long-term process. So we have been working with the Cloverfields community and DPW on their drainage project. There was a website that was launched over the last year, more of an education public outreach on on the flooding that they're seeing in that community. We did apply for a grant through FEMA, and that was actually today I got notification that it was pushed from MEMA, MDEM, to FEMA so it passed all the technical review, which isn't a guarantee that we'll get the funding, but we've passed to the next step. So I think we're going to hear something sometime in the fall, and that's a scoping project, and the purpose of that is to hire a consultant to tell us what exactly needs to be done in that community, so we can get the most bang for our buck. We've also reinitiated the active assailant planning. So this is something that we had done prior to COVID that was completely shut down, but we have been working with all of our stakeholders, including the Sheriff's Office and local police, other local police agencies, so that we can have a clear operating picture when it comes to any kind of mass casualty, but specific to any kind of active assailant. We recently, during COVID, completed our continuity of operations. That's the county plan. And also the nuisance flooding plan that was an annex to our hazardous mitigation plan that, if you remember, we were here in 2018-ish to get approved. Some of the projects that we're going to be working on over the next few months are an update to our emergency operation plan and also commodity flow, which is a hazardous materials study. So if anybody has any questions?
The only thing that I'll add to Lori's update is her division has, over the last 2 years, has truly been a yo-yo. And every time they take one step forward, they've had to take 2 steps backwards because their whole division has been totally committed to COVID. And because of that, you are doing the backstroke and barely keeping your head above water, but your group is doing an excellent job getting us back on track. In the 2-year period that we've been committed to the COVID response, a lot of positions have changed, and she has almost had to start at ground zero with a lot of these projects and starting over. And your group's doing an excellent job, and very proud of what you've done COVID-wise. I'm very proud of what you're doing, trying to get us back on track.
We're attempting.
Scott.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having us. I'm going to talk a little bit about EMS and try not to overwhelm you at once. I promised you I'd be back in November to follow up on some things that I talked to you then.
Threat.
And I don't want to let you down. So year-end report for EMS, just a little fun fact. 2021, we ended up with 8,091 EMS responses throughout the county. That led to 3,907 transports. That's 639 more calls for service than 2019 and 961 more calls for service than 2020. And with that, you'll hear me talk in just a little bit that our high acuity calls are the highest ever. So 2 records we've set is the highest amount of EMS calls in Queen Anne's County history since we've been recording EMS calls, and number 2, the highest amount of transports. Also, just because we didn't transport did not mean we didn't treat. There are a lot of calls, as you all have been made aware painfully by my presentations, of diabetic emergencies, asthma attacks, stuff like that, that we medicate. Patients decide to continue staying at home. We also did that with the COVID responses. Sometimes we were able to mitigate those at home and stop those patients from overloading the ER unnecessarily. We never deny transport, but sometimes we can make them feel better at home, and that's where they can continue their healing process. So it's been a busy time with all these challenges. And I included a graph. I'm not going to bore you from school with graphs, but I just wanted you to see the difference in our call volume. The one entity to this that I wanted to remind you of at the beginning of the year last year, I said, man, our call volume is really down at the beginning of 2020 for the first quarter, and that's because people weren't calling 911 over the fear of going to the hospital with COVID. And we can't prove it, but there's some thought across the nation from other EMS chiefs that maybe that's because that's why our higher acuity calls are now, because many things weren't caught early. Beginning of last year, cardiac disease, heart disease, blood pressure, et cetera, and it's leading to some more of the major difficulties we're seeing today. I want to thank you. We took delivery of the Zoll budget, the new Zoll monitors that you approved in our budget. They are on all of our frontline units, and we are the only department in the state of Maryland that has that technology for traumatic brain injury and for the higher readings when we're assisting ventilations or having patients on our ventilators. So once again, we are leading the state with that. We've added some AEDs to the fleet that we're still continuing with our AED build out. And with that, I know Commissioner Jack Wilson, Commissioner Steve Wilson, and also I believe Commissioner Dumanel, you were asking, we are adding the AEDs to the senior living facilities. So now every floor of the senior living facilities will, in a short time, have an AED that'll be accessible to their occupants. And we're proud of that. We're going to help them with some training with those. The director led to it, but I want to give you the down and dirty. COVID hit us hard. Not only were we running lots of calls between December and January when this variant hit, our staff started going through it like wildfire. And there were several days where I had 5 and 6 vacancies that we had to backfill with overtime. So I have been as diligent as possible with my budget, but I'm not going to pretend that I am right on the landing zone. I'm a little bit to the right of it right now, but we had to keep those trucks on the road to serve. And I want to publicly thank all the staff in the Emergency Medical Service Division, because there were many that rose above and beyond, spending many hours here providing care versus going home to their family. And I can't thank the staff enough. So that caused a lot of backfilling. Our high acuity calls, as I said, were up, and as much as possible, we've continued our training. And I put in there because we have to train like people's lives are put on it, and that's because they do. So some of our training that's upcoming is going to be pretty intense for our crew members, but we do it so we better serve the public. In the upcoming, hopefully before the end of this fiscal year, we'll take delivery of that new supervisor vehicle that you approved. We're in the same state as everybody else, awaiting the building and the delivery of chassis because of some computer chip that apparently is the heart of the system. So we are in that same boat, and I intend on keeping you very clear of the progress of that in case we do not deliver it before June 30th. We know summer's coming, our traffic's coming, our increased call volumes always during the summer, so we're getting ready for that. And we're going to continue to be the best EMS service possible. But of course, I come to you because I want to help. So I'm going to tell you what I need, but then I'm going to show you some good olive branch that I'm going to extend to you with hopefully some ways of some increasing.
This guy should be in sales.
You know, I've learned from the 5 best.
Today only deal.
So I obviously have talked to you about the COVID operating expense, our overtime. I want to keep services as they are, so I'm doing our best to manage that. But you've heard about our assistance with the retirement, and that is my do or die. Please keep that on the front line as you get the numbers from the state of Maryland. That retirement is crucial in recruitment and retention of our staff. And at this very moment, I am fully staffed with 4 new faces in our academy going through right now. They just started last week in their orientation, and they'll be hitting the streets in a few weeks for their rookie book. But with that, very glad I'm fully staffed. I still have some members out on very serious injuries. I don't know if they're going to come back or not, so just keep that in mind. I talked to you last year that I'd be coming to you, and you will see it appear in the budget. I am requesting for a new station to be opened. Twofold reason: our call volume, it's going to be in the southern part of the county, our response times, getting patient side care in an immediate fashion, but also to keep in mind that when those units start emptying during the day, we have to start doing the whole domino shuffle of moving units down. And I know that we've had some meetings about where to house them and stuff like that, so I'm going to put that in there, as well as a transport unit and our part-time logistics person moving full-time. But here it is. Commissioner Jack Wilson's been very involved with MACO as far as many of you, so there's 2 things I want to bring to your attention. We were able to adopt into a Medicaid assistance with the state of Maryland. There was some bills that passed on the MIMS level that usually we have a very low flat rate for every Medicaid patient we transport. This bill has passed, and we are in the process with the county finance office of supplying numbers and reports to this agency in the state and to MIMS, Maryland Institute of Emergency Medical Services. And with this, our Medicaid billing is going to increase by several $100s for every Medicaid patient, which is going to be around an $800,000 increase to the county for our transports of Medicaid patients a year, which we didn't have before. Part 2 of that is one of MACO's 4 objectives was to increase EMS billing for services. Right now, we're a transport. We can only bill when we transport. So these high acuity patients that we treat at home, that we do all these procedures in their home, even in a cardiac arrest where we go through the whole process but we don't transport the patient, we can't bill for those services. So there is a bill going to legislation, and hopefully that will pass.
It was testified on today, Senate Bill 295.
Yes.
So Senate Bill 295, if that passes, we're going to be able to bill for our procedures and what we do to the patient. And that's why we train like our lives depend on it, because now our narratives, everything we do will be a billable possibility. And that will increase the revenue to the county. So even though I'm coming, yes, sir.
Well, just to highlight that a little bit further, take it a little further, you know, for years we've heard how the volunteer, this stemmed from volunteer fire departments, ambulance services, because for that reason, they went out and they treated on site, they couldn't bill. So for a volunteer fire department, that's, you know, that hurts them significantly. So this was developed through the volunteers, brought it forward, but it's also going to help our paid side as well. So hopefully it will help the volunteers maybe get back into some more transporting, treating, maybe help with some of the pressures that EMS is feeling with the calls and all. So it's a great bill for especially for the rural counties that have a lot of volunteer houses around. And it's going to be great for us. You just heard the revenue uptick we're going to get, because right now that 800,000 we're eating basically.
So, and the final thing is I just wanted to thank you, and as I try to do publicly, thank all the volunteers and career EMS professionals in this county. I say it every time I come before you, but it's the crew that I have working that makes this system work, and I'm thankful for their dedicated time and effort, and thank you for letting me spend some time with you tonight. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
There we go. I knew. Yes, sir.
You knew it'd be me.
It's okay.
So, the high acuities, are they mainly going down the shore or going across the bridge?
So it's spread out. Our highest transport in the last quarter was to actually Chester River Hospital. That's where we transported the moat. We had a lot of north calls, followed by Anne Arundel, Queen Anne ER, and then Easton.
Why would that be, since that's not a cardiac?
Because a lot of those patients were sick, but did not require the specialty centers of strokes.
Wasn't, for instance.
And when I say the majority, it was only by a few transports.
Okay.
I run the statistics and I can't juke them, so that's the way it is. We are running a lot of cardiac patients. We are running a lot of cardiac arrests. We are running a lot of STEMIs and strokes.
And they're going principally north?
Either Anne Arundel or Easton for the cardiac cath center.
50-50?
About that, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I actually saw one of our paramedic units heading north on 97.
We transport to Baltimore quite often if aviation is not available to get to a specialty center, or for something that needs a specialty center but isn't immediate where aviation would be needed. So there's a lot of trauma patients. You know, complex fracture, we're going to carry them in the ambulance, we're going to give them pain medication, we're going to stabilize them, give them some fluid. They're going to get to a trauma center, but it's not the multiple system trauma where aviation would be needed. And sometimes, to be very honest with the group, from points in our county, Kent Island in the middle of the night, North County, we can be to Christiana, we can be at a specialty center quicker than the helicopter can get to us. So we have to take that into factors when we're determining how we're going to transport patients.
How are the transport times, unload times over in?
During December and January, they were terrible. They have started to decrease. We're averaging 12 to 18 minutes on normal days, and when things are backed up on the Western Shore, sometimes the longest wait I think we had was almost 2 hours. So
we hear that nationally that the COVID numbers are beginning in hospitalizations to break down. Do you see that?
We do, but one thing historically, the shore is about 2 to 3 weeks behind everybody, so it's a little slower for us to start seeing the effects. So there's a current decline on the current COVID numbers, but we're not seeing that locally at this moment. We're probably going to see it in the next week or two. Is where we'll start seeing the ease up on us a little bit. And the other thing to highlight what Scott's saying is our circle of available hospitals and available beds to us keeps widening and widening. So the frequency that you're seeing us go to other hospitals that isn't normal for us is becoming more and more frequent for us.
And I thought that, I mean, the moment I saw it, I realized, wow, things are getting bad. We can't even take a patient to Annapolis, or we can't take a patient to Easton because there's just no beds, that we're having to actually transport all the way north. You know, that speaks volumes when you talk about the hospitals and what's the term, code red or code orange or whatever, where they're not receiving patients.
Red alert, bypass, and yellow alert. Yes, sir.
Are you having bed issues in either one of those places now?
Today, no. It was a fairly late day.
I mean today, but in this block of time.
It's gotten better.
It's gotten better, but we have had issues.
Yes.
Finding beds and finding availability in the area hospitals. It's been difficult.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
The only last thing that I'll add before we cut out is April is going to be a very difficult month for us, particularly our dispatch center, because April is go live date for everything. So we're going live in April. The April 5th is the current date scheduled to go live with our new CAD system. Training starts within the next week or two, and all of our dispatchers have a lot of training to go through over the next 30 days. And our next Gen 911 go live date is in the end of April. So within 1 month,
A lot happening.
1 month, we're going to upgrade our technology more than we have since the year 2000. So it's exciting
these
times,
vendors
but it's
that we're
also very
using-
nervous times for us.
These vendors that were awarded these contracts, they're obviously going to have staff and personnel on site for these transitions. Is that
Yes.
safe to say?
Yes. What has been different is we're used to the one-on-one presentations and the one-on-one training, and it's a lot of been online training because of COVID again, which is, there's a little bit longer learning curve to learn everything than what we historically are used to. But the sessions coming up are all live, they're in person. The dispatchers will be happy when April is over with.
How long do they stay? Obviously, you just don't flip a switch and go to the new system. How long does the old system stay active through the new system coming online?
We're going to have to keep the old system at least for 7 years because we're not paying to increase the data sets and import them into the new system. So anybody that wants us to trace a record back, and we have to maintain our records for 7 years, we'll have to go to the old system. So we're taking like the last years of data and putting it into the new system, but we're not putting the full data set in. So the Sheriff's Office Complete Records Management is on the old system, so we're going to have to keep both going. We won't have to pay the service contracts on the old system,
Right.
but we'll have to keep it up and running just to refer back to the data that's in it.
Gotcha.
Good question, though.
All right.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You.
And we'll be back in a little bit.
Please thank the rank and file for us.
You just did, because I'm sure they're all watching us.
Okay, Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is swearing in of the FEC officers. Billy Faust and Buddy Thomas.
There's a couple of them bugs coming up. Wow. I didn't say anything about how ugly you are. Sorry. That's your job there, Chris.
I got it. You guys want to move those chairs and just stand in front of the table?
That whole look.
He absolutely hates the attention.
That whole look right there just got me.
That's happy.
100% with you.
All right, you ready? All right. Use your name where I use my name. I, Chris Corcorino,
I, Bill Faust,
do solemnly promise and swear
do solemnly promise and swear
that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
fulfill the duties of the office to which I have been elected,
fulfill the duties of the office to which I've been elected,
and uphold the bylaws of the Queen Anne's County Fire and EMS Commission at the conclusion of my term of office.
That's too much, Chris.
I didn't have the little spaces there. I messed them up.
mess this up, that really messes up.
And uphold the bylaws of
Uphold
the
the
Queen Anne's
bylaws
County
of the
Fire
Queen
and
Anne's
EMS
County Fire and
Commission
EMS Commission.
at the conclusion of my term of office.
At the conclusion of my term of office,
I will turn over to my successor
I will turn over to my successor
all records and properties
all records and properties
entrusted to my care,
entrusted to my care.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Buddy, you're going to have to do this again next Saturday. Congrats.
I have a little gift. Now, these are challenge coins, and as you can see, this one's oversized. A gentleman in Millington Fire Company made them, and they are, his name was Nevin Steffi. And these are all the line of duty deaths for the Queen Anne's County Fire and EMS. So all 4 of our line of duty deaths are on there. That's why they're oversized.
Thank you, Bill.
you, Billy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yep, thank you.
It's a great way to honor them and remember them.
Thank you.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Buddy's already been in the fire. He's been to a meeting already. I said, you've already been in the fire. You've already been vice chair to a meeting.
Okay, Commissioners, the next item on our agenda is Patrick Hager, and it's the Board of Education Administrative Building Report Review.
All right. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm Patrick Hager. As I was introduced, good evening. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the committee for the opportunity to serve on the committee for the Board of Education Administration Building Citizen Committee. It's quite a tough mouthful there, but so we had a great committee that was put together, and it was a pleasure to serve with those folks. It was a nice, diverse group with some rich backgrounds and brought a bunch of different perspectives to the conversations and the decisions that we made. And that consisted of Janet Pauls, Bill Stoops, Eugene Higgs, Paul Gunther, Kara Voigt, and Michael Whitehill. And as you're aware, the purpose of the committee was to evaluate the conditions of the existing Board of Education central office and provide a summary of recommendations and alternatives for future use of the building. As part of that, the committee met on 5 different occasions, and we prepared meeting minutes along with the assistance from the county engineers. We appreciate their help and their staff. And those minutes are attached to the memorandum that we've provided. As part of our efforts, we toured the facility, and we reviewed previous assessments and feasibility studies that were performed on behalf of the public school and to evaluate the building. Our focus was not only on the future use of the building, but also the 13 acres, roughly 13 acres associated with that facility. As highlighted in the memo, some of the potential uses that we considered were continued educational or institutional use, office or administration use, housing, and also we considered adjacent property interests as far as the potential use of the 13 acres. We had Kara Voigt on the committee, who was very familiar with the local zoning requirements. Certainly a huge asset in that regard, as we discussed the different zoning considerations and what the property could be used for. Also, we met with Mr. Jeremy Klein of WGM Architecture and Interior. His group did the feasibility study on behalf of the Queen Anne's County Public School when they evaluated the building to determine whether it was appropriate for use as continued Board of Education administration or whether they should consider some other opportunities. As part of our final recommendations, our primary recommendation is that we think that the site, the property, and the building are best suited for continued use for educational or institutional use. The committee does feel that honoring the historical and educational significance of the building is an important element to the community. Also, the Centerville High School Alumni Association has a memorabilia there, and we think maintaining that as part of whatever the future use would be important to the community as well. A second alternative that we considered and explored was the use of the building for workforce housing or for elderly housing, both of which is a primary need here in Queen Anne's County. We know that the county struggles, experiences loss of trained teachers and first responders, oftentimes due to lack of housing in the community and in the county itself.
In terms of housing, I don't mean to interrupt you, just a question. So when looking at housing on this, my understanding is the building isn't ADA compliant as a whole, correct? So there would have to be some major changes to bring it fully ADA compliant?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, any future use of the building for any purpose is going to require a substantial overhaul. The mechanical systems, plumbing, ADA requirements, as you cited. So there's a tremendous amount of capital that would need to go into improving the building or bringing it up to certain standards for any use. So any of these future uses, finding, or budgeting is going to be the primary factor. And with that, I mean, that's really kind of a quick summary overview of what our efforts were, and hopefully the memorandum provides some better detail, the meeting minutes, and with regard to the housing, as we, when the committee was actively working, we did get an email from a developer who takes those types of properties, turns them into workforce housing or elderly housing. So certainly that would be, from the private side, and, I'm not sure what financial mechanism they may have or resources they may have, but certainly that takes it out of, out of the Board of Education, out of the public funding option.
And now this committee was tasked to just look at the opportunities for potential use once the Board of Education vacates it.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we certainly didn't vet out, every opportunity. As far as like educational use, we talked about obviously, Queen Anne's County Schools, VOTEC training, which I forget there's actually a newer phrase for that, but
CTE.
There you go, thank you. We kept stumbling over that the whole time. Or early education, different programs like that. But also, some of the private schools, may have an interest in that. But we certainly didn't go through, meet with all the different private schools. Board of Education, we didn't meet with them specifically to kind of vet out any of those opportunities.
Was there interest from some of the private schools?
Yes, sir.
And I think that's probably because the configuration that you already have there makes more sense for them with classroom sizes.
It was really interesting when we met with Mr. Klein, the architect that did the feasibility study, and they do a spatial analysis where they look at, the width of hallways, the size of rooms, things like that, and they come up with this factor, and that factor is, based on the efficiency of use, and really that was one of what would appear to be one of the deciding factors for the Board of Education is that the building's doesn't lend itself well to administrative type use, to office use, things like that, just due to the size of the rooms, right. Hallways, things like that. You wouldn't obviously have a 12-foot hallway or something in a business.
I never even thought about the private school component.
It's a good option. The building needs a lot of work no matter what.
We did get approached by one outfit that was quite interested in thinking.
Was Y Upper School? Was it? Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, they probably are busting at the seams now where they are.
I would think they are where they're at.
And those folks had approached us about meeting with the committee, but we didn't feel it would be fair to meet with them and not give
others,
opportunity to other people. So certainly it would be a next phase to, if that was a route to give everybody an opportunity to come in and, make their pitch for that option.
All right. Well, thank you very much to you and the rest of the committee for all your work on that. It's very helpful in helping guide us and the possible uses for that building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is Public Works. If you could turn to tab 2, page 1. The first item is the Circuit Courthouse landscaping enhancement.
Good evening, Mr. Edgar.
Good evening, Commissioners. I don't know if you want to make a motion first, or I can give you some background.
I move to award the Circuit Courthouse Landscape Enhancement Contract to Unity Landscape Design, Build Incorporated of Churchill, Maryland, in the amount of $134,633.36, and authorize the Director of Public Works to issue the notice of award and execute the contract on behalf of the County Commissioners.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second from Commissioner Moran. Tell us about it.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for reconsidering this project. I say reconsidering because you may recall that several months ago we had brought the project before you. At that time, we had received one bid. It was from a local firm, but the concern was there was only one bid, and you had sent back, said, well, let's try again in a different time of the season when perhaps the contractors may not be as busy, and perhaps we might get a better price for this project. And indeed we did. So your insight there worked out very well. We definitely proactively reached out to a lot of local vendors, encouraging their participation. We had 4 contractors, all ones that we've either worked with previously or have good references from, and received some very good bids. We recommend, and just a little bit of background again on the project itself involves completion of site work at the brand new Circuit Courthouse. So when the building was constructed, we knew that we would have to revisit areas of drainage on the adjacent health department property. There's largely inadequate drainage there. The addition of some ADA accessible steps on the side of the building for a more direct connection to the parking lots in the back. Also, one of the things that we've discovered over the last couple of years is that it's been very challenging to maintain the front landscaping owing to the lack of irrigation. So what this project provides for is some very deep dry wells, which will infiltrate the runoff from the health department building, establishment of these ADA steps, completed walkway connection to Commerce Street, as well as installation of irrigation systems, so we can maintain the landscaping of the courthouse through the hot summer months. We received the 4 bids for the project. You'll see that Unity Landscape Design Build out of Churchill, they're the low bidder in terms of the local vendor preference. They did qualify as a local vendor being located here in Queen Anne's County. So what that did was it, for the purpose of bid ranking, took 10% off of their bid for comparing bids, which put them just under Amacor Incorporated out of Delaware. You may note that the first and second bidders were very close, as were the third and the fourth. We did find that there was a relatively significant jump to the tune of about $80,000 between the second and third bidders. Because we have a relationship, having worked with these bidders before, I did reach out and speak with some of the other bidders and say, hey, what do you think? Do you think something was missed here? They were very kind and indicated that no, those really are solid numbers, as was the situation before. Labor shortages are a constant concern. Based on the schedule for this, I would need to get some other exterior outside labor to help with this. That increased my cost, as well as the installation of the dry wells. The BRS, for example, the third bidder, he did not have that equipment and would need to rent it. So he kindly advised that, no, I think the numbers that we're seeing are reliable. So with that being said, we recommend to you that we proceed to award the contract to Unity Landscaping, and we've worked with them many times in the past with good experience. So
that was going to be my question.
All right. Any other questions?
This stuff is mainly not landscaping in the normal public sense. What you're dealing with here is really, you know, the establishment of the dry wells, and it's basically a really engineering drainage issue rather than typical landscaping.
It's not petunias and shrubs.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. And there will be a minor revision to the landscaping in the front of the building. With the installation of the irrigation system will allow us to better support the sod and everything up front. Some of the feedback that has been received regularly is, though we put the seasonal plantings of the petunias out there and everything every year, some of the native plants that are in the bioretention areas tend to have a not very well manicured look. So what the plan does is it revises it somewhat so that we still have native plantings, that the bioretentions are still there and doing their job. However, we've put some other plants in there that
are more aesthetically pleasing.
Correct, exactly. They lend themselves to a courthouse, as well as the addition of a boxwood perimeter, which has very nice cues for the historic courthouse across the street.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, the motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Commissioners, if I can get you to convene as the Roads Board?
Make a motion, we convene as the Roads Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're roads.
Okay, the first item on there is the Roads Division is requesting to purchase 2 Ford F-450 Crew Cab 4x4. If If I can get a motion, please?
I move to purchase two Ford F-450 Crew Cab 4x4 with dump body from Apple Ford of Columbia, Maryland, in the amount of $203,420.40 via the Baltimore County contract number 000-45004.
Second.
Second?
Commissioner Wilson, beat you to say. Any discussion?
That's an easy one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 5.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Easy, right?
Okay, Commissioners, we can move to tab 3, action items. The first item we have is a proclamation for Black History Month. I'm not sure who wants to read it.
I'll do it. Sure. Well, this is,
Should be
One back, Phil.
tab 3.
Yes,
The other
tab
way.
3.
The other way, Phil.
there it is, okay. Proclamation 22-13, whereas February is recognized as Black History Month, and the Character Counts Pillar of the Month is respect, the Queen Anne's County Commissioners and the Queen Anne's County Branch 7024 of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People encourage all citizens to embrace both the celebration of Black History Month and the Pillar of the Month respect. Whereas Black history is pronounced during the month of February, all citizens of Queen Anne's County are encouraged to celebrate and respect the many achievements and contributions that reflect the struggle of African Americans. And whereas all citizens of Queen Anne's County respect the founding principles of our nation, which states that people are created equal and diversity is celebrated as well as represented or respected. And whereas all citizens of Queen Anne's County make a concerted effort to pay homage to those who have paved the way and honor the sacrifices and achievements of African American who have contributed to the achievement of all Americans. And whereas the National Black History Month theme of 2022 is to focus on the mental health and wellness as a result of the pandemic, Queen Anne's County provides equitable resources for all citizens. And now, therefore, the Queen Anne's County Commissioners hereby proclaim February's Black History Month with a focus on the Character Counts Pillar of the Month, respect for all citizens of Queen Anne's County, signed by the Queen Anne's County Commissioners. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, item 2, page 2, is another proclamation. This is a Pillar of the Month, respect.
Proclamation 22-11, Pillar of the Month for February, respect. Whereas the Commissioners of Queen Anne's County, at the request of its citizens, declare the county a character count community, and whereas all citizens have been called upon to embrace the TRRFCC, better known as Terrific, 6 pillars of character: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, and incorporate them into their daily activities and to model these traits of good character. And whereas the Character Counts Pillar of the Month for February is respect, and whereas all citizens will incorporate this value in their daily lives by being respectful, and whereas all citizens will follow the golden rule and treat others the way that you would want them to be treated. Oh, wow. Treat others the way you would want to be treated. And whereas all citizens will be considerate of others' feelings, and whereas all citizens will be courteous and use good manners at all times, and whereas all citizens will be accepting of differences in a polite and kind way, whereas all citizens will deal peacefully with anger, insults, and disagreements, and stand together in unity. And now, therefore, we, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County, do designate Character Counts Pillar of the Month for February 2022 is respect. Signed, the County Commissioners.
You're going to sing the respect song for us next? Just to...
Oh, your voice is much better than mine.
I had it queued up.
There you go.
There's the DJ in you. I had it queued up.
Okay, item number 3, page 3, is DES is requesting the approval to purchase a replacement animal control vehicle. If I could get a motion.
I move to authorize Director of Department of Emergency Services to purchase a 2023 Chevy Silverado piggybacking off the Maryland BPO from Hertrick Fleet Services for the amount of $31,391.
Second.
Got a motion with a second from Commissioner Moran. It's just a little bit faster than you.
I know, he's quick. He's just fresh off vacation.
Any questions?
I just have one. When you say that this is going to be fully equipped response vehicle, what does that mean?
Want to tackle that one?
This
is a vehicle for Lori's division.
So not a response in the respect of like an emergency response vehicle.
Right.
When I talk about a response vehicle for animal control, it is equipped with all the things that an animal control officer needs to perform their duties.
Okay.
So this would be for the chassis. There would be a box added to the back that would be more traditional than what we currently have. And it would be better equipped for the animal control job.
Which is transport of animals?
Transport of
Okay.
animals to shelter, and all the equipment that goes along with trapping, and all of those things.
Gotcha. Okay.
We have a variety of trailers that we have to hold.
And how many of these vehicles do you have in your fleet right now?
So we currently have 4, 2 of the small transit box, like the small vans, that's one of the ones that we're trying to replace because there's not a lot of room in there.
And they can't tow.
And they can't tow.
And they can't what?
Tow. So we have like a
Oh, okay.
horse trailer. That
Okay.
If we
Sure.
need to trailer large animals, we would have to then swap vehicles
Okay.
to do that.
We inherited the 2 transits.
We inherited all 4 of them, actually.
There was a reason you did.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
Okay, next item is number 4, page 6. The Department of Parks and Recreation is requesting permission to amend the previous approved action item from November the 9th for Mowbray Park court work. Instead of refurbishing the court at Mowbray Park from 3 tennis, 6 pickleball, they are now requesting to refurbish with 10 pickleball courts. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to amend the previous contract with ATC Corp. to now refurbish the Marbury Park courts with 10 pickleball courts for an additional amount of $29,887.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do you have questions?
No, I just have a comment. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I mean, obviously, the game of pickleball is making a huge move in this country. And, we talk about, getting folks involved in outside exercises. And so kudos to your department for saying, hey, you know what? We can actually get 10 here. And then with the combination of lights, I mean, they could play all night long in the summer.
That's right. I mean, we can run it up to, just like most of our other lights, we run until, I think, 10:45, 10 or 10:45.
Yeah.
And it'll have safety lights as well, just to get them to the parking lot, because once the lights go out there, we give a little bit of a grace period so people can get to
There's
their
been a
vehicle
huge
safely.
request and a big push.
Yeah.
And you guys have certainly answered that. So, great job.
We'll get use from not only the county residents, but just other folks as well. And, the ability of having 10 courts, we'll be able to hold classes, you could hold small tournaments and things like that. So it, increases our programming, increases the exposure to the county as well. So, I mean, it's a great amenity to have.
I have to confess, I didn't wait to see how the vote was going to go. But I did leak it out to some folks, and they're pretty excited.
That's good.
So where are we going to look up here in North County to get one?
We do have courts up at Round Top. Again, it's the shared court with the
Put
tennis
the
court.
lights in the hole, all the bells and whistles that we got up there.
We can do it. I just need your approval.
Find me a place, bring it to me.
Okay, we can do that.
So to add on to that, our county executive, Todd Mon, and I went up to the YMCA in Chestertown, which is a very impressive facility, which I hope we will soon be mirroring. And in there are 9 indoor courts, pickleball, filled with Queen Anne's County residents playing on their courts. And I told them, we need you to come back. But within 2 years, because our contract now has them up and running in about 2 years or less now, we should have 10 indoors as well as the Mowbray Park stuff. So, all good for pickleball.
Very good. I have one thing, since we're on Mowbray, but not necessarily this. So those who don't know, it's named after Trooper Mowbray, who died in line of duty in 1975. There is a plaque there, and there's sort of little monument sort of thing there. We refresh the landscaping on that throughout the year. But I think that thing is looking kind of aged. and I want to task you guys with coming up with a proposal for some new monument for Trooper Mowry. That will be a little bit more pronounced so that people know who it's named after. And I think most people go, they don't even see it. They don't realize it's a brick flower bed with the plaque on it. I think we can do something better. It's served its purpose for a long time, but I think it's aging, and we should do something new for him. Okay. All right, back to the pickleball courts. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 5-0, motion carries.
Okay, number 5, again, is Parks and Rec, and they're requesting lighting at Old Love Point Tennis Court.
I move to authorize the Department of Parks and Recreation to contract with Musco Lighting to install new tennis court lighting at Old Love Point Park for $140,000 and $140,014.
Second.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion?
Just a comment. I know that for home football games at Kent Island High School in the past, there's a lot of folks that will park across the street at Love Point Park near the tennis courts and then walk across. And we've asked in the past that lights be turned on at the baseball diamond for security purposes and safety. And so this will have a double usage in the fact that it's going to light up that area and make it safer for folks that are parking there and attending the athletic events across the street at the high school.
Well, and also with the lights that we did earlier on the baseball field and the soccer field, safety lighting was installed on part of the parking lot as well. And the same thing will happen there, so you really won't need to turn on the field lights.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there's enough lights coming off of the safety lighting that's installed there to accommodate the need there for the football games and other activities.
So did we refresh my memory, did we talk about lights at White Marsh?
We did. In fact, they should be completed by the end of February.
Okay, and those lights were for?
On the Bermuda soccer fields.
On the Bermuda soccer fields. Anything in the future planned for the baseball diamonds?
We have talked about that, and again, it's just kind of meeting the need and making sure that, I think it's important that we begin to funnel enough baseball and softball up there to warrant the need for lights. It's a big investment, so you want to make sure that it will be well utilized. And I think as things are going, we're really swamped in the county, especially on the southern end of the county, and we're trying to get people to slowly move up to the central and the north where there's other field availability too. Plus, we've got tournaments that have come in this year. We've got, I think, about 8 different softball or baseball tournaments that are coming in this year. So
build it, and they will
people
come.
See it, see the improvement in it. You see the lights on it. It
so I can tell some folks that have inquired that it's on your radar.
We would definitely like it to be.
Okay.
Do we have any issues with tournaments conflicting with the local usage?
No, we make sure that they're not bumping local users first.
And a lot of those local teams compete in the tournament anyway.
Right.
In fact, our recreation division is actually putting our own baseball tournament for, is it 10 and under, 12 and under, and 13 and under this year. So it'll be our first, really foray into, running a tournament and utilizing our fields and really taking advantage of what we have. And we've already put feelers out, and we've got a couple of teams from, I think 1 or 2 from Delaware, if I'm not mistaken, that have already expressed interest into it. So keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll fill up all the parks with, good young baseball taking place.
And now, you guys are also taking over softball from the Parks and Rec standpoint, right?
QA softball, that'll be falling up under us this year. It'll also be a joint effort with Kent County, because that's who they schedule with, as well as Kent Island softball. So we'll have basically like 3 areas coming together, but it'll be administered through us. The upper Kent County, their recreation department is taking over there. So it seemed like the 3 heads of those other department or divisions all kind of said, I've done my time, let's pass it on. So Kent County got it, we got it. Kent Island softball and baseball are kind of hanging on, kind of seeing how things go. But we're going to put it out there and we'll run it, and it's a good thing. And that's how we've gotten a couple of leagues, as I understand, through the past. I think that's how flag football came to us. And it's the right avenue to bring it in through the department.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, item number 6, page 15, is a signature request for Mattapique Industrial Park grant. Get a motion? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I move to approve and sign semi-annual progress report presented for the Community Development Block Grant number MD-11-ED-70 regarding Mattapique Industrial Park, covering the time period July 1, 2021 until December 31, 2021.
Second.
All right, motion and a second.
How many more do we need, Heather?
Well, if you look at the actual
50
grant
now,
report, we're at 50. We have 42 new full-time jobs and 57 total jobs, so some of those are part-time. The goal is to get to 66 low to moderate income jobs and 130 overall. Once Miltech actually moves forward and moves, we'll be fine. And they did extend our timeline until next year sometime, so they are working with us as long as we're reporting and we're trying. And each time I get reports, it's 5 to 10 new jobs. So it's piddly, but it's happening.
It was so funny when I went through this years ago when I first started one of the things, and the fact is the state never put a expiration on it.
They kind of did.
Yeah,
but
they did.
Well, they came back and did. When they realized their error, they were like, wait a minute, we can't have this.
Yeah.
Well, we did the same thing when we sold that property to Miltech.
No, I get it. Yeah, no, it's,
So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll decide to move soon.
We did talk to them during this last time when we renegotiated this for an extension, and during COVID, a lot of their work was with China, I believe, and they were having supply issues, and they have a patent that was pending, and all that kind of halted. But they did say they still have the plan to move forward. It's just delayed.
be nice to get that one done.
Yeah, absolutely. Be done with that one. Yep.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 4 in favor and 1 absent.
Absent.
Okay, item number 7, page 19 is from the Economic Development request for a DHCD Community Safety Grant in the amount of $100,000. Can I get a motion?
I move to support Queen Anne's County Economic and Tourism Development in the DHCD Community Safety Works grant application on behalf of the Stevensville Arts and Entertainment District.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. What is it?
It is a DHCD grant, and it's called Community Safety Works Business District Improvements. And at first, when I looked at it, I'm like, really, do we need this? Do we have any communities that qualify for this? And you may or may not know, but we're the management entity for the Stevensville A&E district. And Katie, who works with our office, has been working really closely with them to develop their programming. And one of the issues that they have seen recently is a need for traffic mitigation, if you think about the traffic coming around that corner. And we have seen some activity. We have a couple great restaurants down there and shops and Tasty Toucan, and in the summertime you see people all around. So they found a need for that, and it's been a great collaborative effort. We've had Department of our local planning and permitting involved. Steve Cahoon came out. Nancy from Parks all came together and worked on this project and looked for some ways to mitigate that traffic. And they were able to come up with some solutions and pricing and some installation of art, that sort of thing. So I think it's kind of a cool.
So how much of an area is it encompassing? So we're not redoing the sidewalks all through, right? It's
No,
just going to be in
it's
that
a certain
little-
area that it's a county right away that we can do that, and then we're going to work hopefully with the State Highway Administration on that
to
crosswalk.
clean up some of the other ones? Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Heather.
That was an aye.
That was not, all right, 5 in favor. Motion carries.
Okay, the next is item 8, page 24. It's a thank you letter to Mr. Sheets for the 1877 Kent and Queen Anne's Atlas.
I move to execute the letter to Mr. Everett Sheets for the gifted 1877 Kent and Queen Anne's County Atlas.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Very cool.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, actually Margie's going to be looking to see if there's somebody who can scan the atlas so that we'll be able to have it on the website for the public to see. But it's really neat showing Kent and Queen Anne's County, the maps of how everything was back in 1877. And what's really neat is looking at some of the farmlands and some of the names that you
Yeah.
see there
Yeah.
are people whose descendants you know today. So it's really cool.
Which I found out today through reading that Caroline was a product of Queen Anne's in Dorchester.
Really?
Pieces of each were made to create Caroline County, taken.
Maybe we'll start a war.
So we
take
could
some
just take
land
it back? Is that, I
Yeah.
thought maybe we just take it back if we want, or?
Caroline's our own little Ukraine here. What do you
That's
think?
right. Mounting on the border there.
We
All right.
succeed from the other side, huh?
All those in, do we vote? I don't remember.
No,
if
we
voted.
didn't.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'm named in that book.
There's a picture of
Oh,
the
you
young
were the
Steve
author,
Wilson
right?
in there.
The young Stevie Wilson in there?
Okay, our last item is number 9. It's on page 25, and it's the 18th Annual Awards Gala and Teacher of the Year. They're requesting a sponsorship. Last year, we did platinum level, which was $1,000.
Move to sponsor QACPD Annual Awards Gala at the platinum level in the amount of $1,000.
Correction, Board of Ed.
What did I say?
No, you said what was written. It's QACPS.
Yeah.
Somebody put PD in there, but that's.
You got a second?
Yeah,
Got-
second.
Commissioner Moran seconds. All in favor? Aye.
And that was for the platinum sponsorship,
And
correct?
I nominate Commissioner Dumanel to attend on behalf of the commissioners.
Very well.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, there you go. Now it's in order.
Okay, Commissioners, the next thing on our agenda is tab 7, Legislative. The first item that you can vote on is County Ordinance 2111, which is establishing the Community Cat Program in Queen Anne's County, adopting a trap, neuter, return policy for community cats.
Motion to adopt 2111.
Second.
Motion is second. Any more discussion on this one? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, 5-0. Motion carries.
Okay, and then our last item is County Ordinance 2201, and that's our public facility bond authorization of 2022.
Motion to approve 22-01.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, 5 passes.
Okay, and I assume that no one signed up, Sherry?
All right, is there anybody online? All right, we're in our second pressing public comment. No one signed up, but if anybody in the room wanted to speak, let us know. All right, we'll go to roundtable. Commissioner Wilson.
Yeah, so since Inga said, I just wanted to let you know that Ziva is doing great. She's adopted and adapted to the my wood shop quite well, so.
That's just the proof that girl has, and to be tamed.
And the wife's very patient. So,
She's been with you a while.
Actually, I really just wanted, and Scott gave the opportunity to bring up Senate Bill 295. I think that's great for Queen Anne's County, actually all the counties, and kudos to Carroll County and Washington County for being the ones that spearheaded getting that put in this year. It's been on the table 2 years, but it looks like this year it's got the legs to make it through. And like I said, you heard, I mean, $1 million that we can't recoup a year for medical services. And if you think about it, we're being penalized because we're actually going out and doing the care on site. So people don't have to, loved ones don't have to go to the hospital, visit their family because they got transported to the hospital, or figure out where to take the kids because they're going to the hospital. You know, we're really doing better, but we're actually being penalized for doing it. And you were seeing a lot of ambulance services going ahead and transporting because they knew that's the only way they're going to get paid for the services. So this gets rid of a lot of that
And keeps ambulances in service
exactly
longer.
they're not crossing the bridge. They're staying on this side of the bridge.
Yeah.
They're back in service.
If there's not a bed available, the ambulance sometimes has to stand there in the bay and wait.
Yep.
So their patient could be offloaded into a bed, and that keeps an ambulance out of service that, you know, could be used over here. So
Absolutely.
this is good stuff.
It is, absolutely. So that's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Dumanel.
So one of the opportunities that we get that I often look forward to is being invited to the induction ceremonies of our volunteer fire services. So we have 9 firehouses here in Queen Anne's County, and each year they induct the new officers. And then there's a swearing-in ceremony that takes place, and then awards for the number of calls that our volunteers responded on. There's all kinds of different things that take place to show appreciation for our volunteer firefighters here in Queen Anne's County. We're very fortunate that we have such amazing volunteers that will respond to a working fire or a car accident and do it so unselfishly. So I had an opportunity to attend Graysonville's last Saturday, and then the 2 Saturdays ago, and this past Saturday, United Communities down in Station 9 down in the end of Route 8. So a great opportunity for the commissioners to show their appreciation and support, and our citizens to be thankful for the fact that we do have these men and women that do respond. And then, of course, Saturday is Kent Islands. So
I think we had a few this year that kept it as members only.
yeah,
So,
because of COVID.
Yep. And United Communities hit important milestones.
It was a big,
Yeah,
big
it's
anniversary
their
for
50th anniversary for them. So if you think about it, 50 years for a volunteer firehouse to be running an operation down there at the end of Route 8, and the number of calls that they go on and the number of firefighters that respond to those calls. You know, we take it for granted. I think there's some pretty crazy numbers out there that have been shared if we had to go to a career paid service, and the cost to do so is just enormous.
19 million.
What's the latest number?
19 million.
19 million. I mean, that's, if we had to absorb that cost, I mean, I can't even fathom
Yes.
what we'd have to do to be able to cover that. So
You see them doing their chicken bake or their
Yeah.
fried oysters.
Exactly.
Go and do
Slide
it.
over, spend your $2.75 on a quarter
they're
chicken.
selling
and-
chicken or
yeah.
barbecues or, or spaghetti dinners, whatever they're doing. Those are great ways to support our volunteer fire services. That's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Wilson.
Ooh, so County Administrator Mon and I were in Chestertown in the last few days and did a tour of the YMCA up there, and then proceeded on to talk to the Kent County government about maintenance or the recovery of the Witchett Center, which is under threat because the state health authorities who have funded it are considering dropping it, and we are marvelously short of mental health, and we really cannot afford to have that thing dropped off the list. So we are going to try to combine with 5 Eastern Shore counties, and we're looking at the budgets right now and trying to see what we got to do to keep that thing running, because we wind up with a lot of kids getting knocked out of court right straight into jail, and if we could put them in rehab and give them some sort of easement that way, it would sure work a lot better for them and the general public to have that rehab facility continue to run. It's got 100 beds, and right now there are only 20 of them used. They're trying to get it back up to 30 or 40, but the state's being very tough on funding. We're going to work to try to bring together the 5 counties in a coalition so that we can make this thing continue to happen. So I think that's something we want to really put. We've talked to lobbyist Bariano, Ransom, all our medical people to try to help keep that going. So that's just something to put on our list. That's it, sir.
All right.
And I'm going to piggyback off that, as liaison to the Drug Free Coalition, that is the #1 priority, to make sure that we don't lose those beds, because we don't have them. And the talk's always been with the settlement, if and when the settlement ever comes with Big Pharma over the opioid crisis, that's where the money would be spent, is to somehow get that up and independent and running and service the Eastern Shore. So that's a huge one. So thank you for jumping on that and making those contacts.
Real quick, Jim, while you're on that, though, is the opioids the conversation was more around capital expenses needed to bring it up to, right? Because I don't think, because the opioid settlement would run out and it would still be an operation.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. We have to get it to
This would kickstart it.
You need to bring an organization in that can run it daily.
Right.
And turn a profit and give them, hopefully the
capital
start on level ground to make sure that instill that it runs for years to come. So,
Right.
yes,
Gotcha.
that's
Okay.
the whole thing there.
All right.
And no startup costs for them.
Correct. Well, we'll see. We'll just see how this all works out. The second thing I'd like to talk about is our park service. I am fortunate there Steve, you handed that ball off to me as the liaison there, and that's been one of my pet peeves, our parks. And anybody that's used our parks in the last 4 to 5 years, 4 years ago, everything was gravel. Between the parking lot, the fields, I mean, the county has spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort, and I want to say thank you to the Parks Department members and the staff that works out there, because it really is shining up nicely. I mean, I think that we deserve, and when I say we, the citizens and the kids of Queen Anne's County deserve these upgraded facilities. And I think there's more to come. I mean, this group of 5 right here, the turf fields, we started with the turf fields, the paving, the repaving of the Cross Island Trail, the Cross Island 1.1 miles of decking alone took over 7-8 years just to get the permits and get the funding for it. So, there's other things in works, just like you said, the North County, he says he just takes the votes. And, the PRAB members, the members that are on that board are constantly looking at different things that we can do. And an indoor facility is probably one of the first and foremost that we need, because our youth basketball program is the largest program we have in Queen Anne's County for our kids. And,
It's like over 680 participants?
I think it's 700 now. It's over 700. But we have to move them into schools and all over the place where, we own property in some locations, and we may be doing a feasibility study on that, just to get the indoor courts and something that we own that we can use and facilitate year-round. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of good things going on there, and especially in Queen Anne's County. And the last thing I want to talk about is, what's my favorite subject, Jack?
The Bay Bridge.
The Bay Bridge, okay. So, as anybody that crosses that bridge has noticed, all the new stanchions going up and the message boards, the gate system. I'm not a betting man, but I would say by Memorial Day, the automated gate systems will be in place and will be moving traffic back and forth. And that process is going to save 20 to 25 minutes from the bridge authority saying, okay, we're going to go into contraflow. Now let's turn the lights on, the arrows on red here, and then move the cones. It'll be a push of a button. The lights will change, the indicators will change on what lanes are closed, which lanes are open, and gates will slowly move out there to move the traffic so it's much safer. And hopefully that'll help us, because in the past, if you're coming home on a Friday evening, and a lot of us up here do, and it starts to rain, contraflow ends. And in the past, it would be contraflow, and not only does it end, they don't start it back up again until the following morning or later that evening, even if the rain stops. This will allow them, the minute the rain stops, the radar looks good, is to open that traffic. And, that's one of the things we're looking forward to in helping with some of the traffic congestion, is the speed in which we can open and close contraflow, because, there'll be times where, you would expect the traffic to be heavier eastbound, and it's westbound. The state looks at that, how far the backup is. And again, it's a push of a button, it's a safe, and it's a more efficient way to do this. So I'm looking forward for that system to come online. And lastly, I'm going to throw some kudos out to our friends in the corner back here, QACTV. They have been working on an informational segment to the Bay Bridge and what's coming with a replacement bridge. And we're not done yet, but we're getting real close. And the commissioners here will review it and approve it, and then we're going to put it out to the public. And it's got really, a lot. I think it answers the most pressing questions when somebody knows that we're talking about another bridge, a replacement bridge here in Queen Anne's County, and you'll hear, why here? We don't need more traffic. All these, and this, basically dispels some of these myths and puts the facts in front of you, and to see that it truly is the only place to put it because of the age of these bridges and the fact that we have to do contraflow, which is the most dangerous thing that you can do on a bridge, let alone a bridge that's over 4.2 miles long. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this because it will answer a lot of the public's questions, and finally, I will say that County Administrator Todd Mon, the beautiful Todd Mon here, we have been working with other counties on the Eastern Shore. As you know, or may not know, Queen Anne's County did a resolution for a replacement bridge, and Anne Arundel County signed on and did the same resolution for a replacement bridge. And now we have Kent, we're working on Caroline, we have Dorchester, Wycomico, and Talbot, and we're working on all the Eastern Shore counties to sign on because strength in numbers. If we can get the support of all the Eastern Shore counties, We're in phase 1 of this NEPA study that they're doing for the bridge. Phase 1 becomes official supposedly on March 14th. The federal government will come out and say, okay, here's the selection, where the 2 bridges are, and then immediately we have to get into phase 2, which is approximately $52 million, and we need to fund that. And with the support of all the Eastern Shore counties and some Western Shore counties, Garrett County, that was the other one.
And Carroll County signed on, I think.
Okay, good. That's what I'm saying. So, the more we have, the better it is, and to keep this project moving forward, because I don't want to be sitting up here or sitting in my truck in 10 years from now waiting for them to decide to build another bridge, replacement bridge with the age of what's existing. And on that, esteemed.
Thank you.
So before we,
Yeah.
back to the gates thing.
Yes.
That has puzzled me as I've driven by them for the last 3 months as they're building them. How do you slow down 65-mile-per-hour traffic with that? They just slam open and the first 5
like
in
ping
front
pong.
are just done, or what? I mean,
Well, the indicator lights,
how far back are they? I guess?
they go all the way to McDonald's. So as you're going, westbound,
Okay.
all the way back to Castle Marina, once you pass Castle Marina on Route 50, you'll come across the first one.
So that's the new stanchions they got up over top.
Correct.
That's going to be the lights? Okay.
That's going to be the lights that tells you which lane's open, which lane's closed. And those gates swing. So if you notice, the gates are very close to each other.
Right.
Because the first gate will only block 1 lane, and they can keep it closed. The second gate can open and block 2 lanes.
Okay.
And that's why it's on both sides, because when they do their construction at night and work at night, you'll be weaving in and out of these to move you in which bridge they want and which lane they want you in. So, and they're plastic. Those pieces, if you run into them, it's going to ruin your paint, but.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they've got them up there in the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel
They got
on
them down
the
in Virginia
north side.
too. I've just never seen them operate. I've
Right.
never been through when they've operated.
Nighttime, that's why, because they're running that at nighttime when they do their work inside the tunnels.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to double dip in the conversation a bit here on the subject of the bridge. I am, as you guys know, the fellow commissioner with Commissioner Moran on the Bragg Committee, and I think a thing that we ought to ask our administrator to do is to get the accident data out of the bridge folks, because the protocols that they run the contraflow on are controlled by that data, and I think there's a lot of questionable data in that, and I think that'd be a good thing for us to.
I agree, and I did ask that, and we did get a report, but what you're being more specific, you're talking about wind and rain.
I'm talking about wind rate. I want to know the accident rate in rain. I want to know, when they varied the speed, what the incidence of accident was, because there are things like rain. I once saw some accident data, and there was no greater incidence of accidents in rain than there wasn't. So why are they forbidding, particularly in light rain? And also, the wind issue, if the wind is head on the bridge, it has no material effect. Is there any mediation of what kind of wind we're talking? Because this is key if we got 15 years to live with that miserable bridge.
And we put that to them in the last Bragg meeting.
Yeah.
And I can bring the minutes in and show you. We asked for, it's anemometer?
Yeah.
Yes, and we asked for them to put live on their website. Said, can you put this on your website so that you and I, whoever's traveling the bridge and coming home, and he know there's wind, because it's certain winds, that's when they put certain protocols. Yeah, no empty trailers, no contraflow, then you slow down, everything else. And I said, all you have to do is on your website, anybody goes to their website and looks at the cameras, they want to see how far the backup is, you'd see down in a little corner, a little arrow where the wind's coming from and how fast it's going.
And what's crazy is, sometimes he and I have, the bridge is closed with 40-mile-an-hour wind, and the airport right next to it, which has an anemometer, we go down there and it's blowing 8.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, well, and I read the minutes. I mean, I don't disagree with you. You know how I feel about that. So it's not a race. It's a slow crawl, to whittle away and get certain things. And we are constantly doing that. So we've asked about that and numerous other things. And as far as accidents, I will tell you that the Bay Bridge, that segment, if we take just 5 miles of the Bay Bridge, you can take 5 miles of the Baltimore Beltway. We do have, on average, a little bit less in accidents, maybe 4 to 6% less accidents per the stretch of miles per time. But what we do have that's much worse is we don't have any other routes. And, you have an accident on the Beltway, you get off at a ramp, you go down to the light, you turn left, you go over 2 streets, you get back up on the Beltway. You don't have it on the bridge, and we don't have shoulders. So the intensity of the accidents and the delays that it builds are much worse than it is on the beltways. So, but they have the data. It's the only data they won't give is on suicides. We're just not going to get that. So. But,
These are mainly rear enders because
Oh, yeah.
they stop and go, and, you know, the less stops we get, the less we get accidents, so it's, you know.
Yep, very much. Very good. Thank you.
And we can't overlook the danger of the aging infrastructure.
Absolutely.
As we saw what happened in Pittsburgh recently with the bridge collapsing.
Yes.
I mean, you know.
Pittsburgh,
someone-
Minnesota, you name it.
Those bridges are old that we have here, and so something has to get done. Public service announcement again, fellas, Valentine's Day is Monday. Don't forget, or if you do, don't go home. We just got these challenge coins that were sent to us for firefighters, volunteer firefighters who lost their lives serving citizens of Queen Anne's County. So I just want to take a minute to just call them out so we can remember them. Chief David M. Brinkley from the United Communities Volunteer Fire Department. His final call was September 21st, 1998. Chief William Douglas Dougie Thomas from the Kent Island Volunteer Fire Department. His final call was July 9th, 2003. Chief Charles F. Buck Cloud Jr. from the Sudlersville Volunteer Fire Company. His final call was April 15th, 2009. And Assistant Chief Danny Lister, Queen Anne Hillsborough Volunteer Fire Company. Final call on September 1st, 2018. So remember, these are your neighbors who volunteer and risk their lives to, you know, save you if there's a car accident in front of your house, if there's a fire. It can't be, like, you know, overstated how important their role is. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Boom.
All right, thank you.